Greetings, remote learners, and those of you that are being forced to stay at home due to quarantine. Today's lesson, as you know, is to write an open letter about education reform to a leader within the Perry-local schools. One thing I want to stress is that your draft of your open letter is due at 2:30 o'clock today. That's 2:30 in the afternoon. That's how we're going to take attendance. So if we get your draft by 2:30, we will mark you present. If your draft doesn't come in, we're going to have to mark you absent for the day. You guys know exactly what these letters look like. You already looked at some exemplars from last year. You did some research when we were together on Friday. Now it's just a matter of gathering your thoughts and writing your draft. We're going to ask that you create your draft in a Google Doc. If you're working with a group of people, share that doc amongst yourselves. Hopefully you all contribute equally. And then when the draft is done, share it with me and Trent. Just a quick review of some of the essential parts that we want to see on that letter. You want to begin with a salutation. So that's where you're going to say, "Dear Dr. Thompson," or "Dear Mr. Porcello," or whoever it is that you're writing about or writing to within the Perry local schools. Make sure it's a person who actually has the power to make the change that you're asking them to make. After you do the salutation, you want to butter them up. This is where you acknowledge something that the school has done well in this specific reform area before you criticize them. Next, you describe the problem. Make sure that they know that the problem exists. Give some specifics about what the problem looks like here at the Perry local schools. Then proceed to propose your reform, making sure that your reform is both specific and complies to state laws. After you make your reform proposal, support it with some evidence. We're looking for you to include at least 2 sources in the draft that you send us today. You also want to show that you have the ability to acknowledge opposing views, and after you acknowledge the opposing views, don't leave the reader with that thought, but go ahead and offer a rebuttal to those views. At the very end is your complimentary closing, where you sign it sincerely, comma, and then on the next line, your name or the names of all of the authors who helped contribute to this letter. And of course, as always, check your letter for spelling, grammar, punctuation, capitalization, mechanics, all of those things. If you need a more detailed breakout of what we're looking for, this self-assessment page is available on today's weekly agenda. It's kind of a step-by-step checklist of everything that your letter needs to include. And the one thing I want to remind everybody about is that this letter is essentially going to be a competition. So we're going to share everyone's draft with everyone in PSL. We're going to vote and see which letters move on. If your letter is voted one of the best, it will win you an exemption on the face-to-face portion of the midterm exam. So that's a pretty awesome prize. Basically, when a lot of your classmates will be studying right before the end of the semester, you won't have to because this letter speaks to the same objectives that we're going to be dealing with in that portion of the midterm, and essentially you'll win not having to take that portion of the midterm. So do a good job on your letter today, and hopefully it'll pay dividends for you later. As always, if you have questions, don't hesitate to call, text, or email Trent or myself. We'll be happy to answer them. Stay safe, stay healthy, and get your work done.